hurricane season's coming up. Do you know what to do to prepare your girls for those high winds and rain days? Stay tuned. Okay, hurricane season starts June 1st, which is Monday, and as hurricanes do, they blow through November 30th, which is also Monday. So you have to set these girls up for success. They need to be strapped down, cemented in, waterproof, windproof, everything that you can do as a beekeeper to help them out without suffocating them or injuring them. Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is your hive stand. Now, this is a custom-made hive stand that we just make here, and it needs to be at least stable on 4 legs. It needs to have an ability to weigh it down. Okay, what we put here is just extra wood on the bottom. That way we can put some cinder blocks in. Preferably, you want to cement in your hives, but once you start getting up to 10, 15, 20 hives and growing, cementing them in can be very costly. And what if you want to move them? Now they're cemented in. What are you going to do? So what we've done is we've done 4 legs. We put some cinder blocks on the bottom. Now we just have a brick on top right now. But as we prepare for hurricane season, we're going to throw a ratchet strap on this warrior hive, and we're going to strap it to the stand. So another kind of stand that we have here is just your old cinder block with some 4x4s going in between them. That way your hive box can sit right on the lumber. A lot of beekeepers like to do it this way just because it's super simple. Grab your cinder blocks, throw the wood in, put your hive box on, done. No building really involved except for a Lincoln log sort of approach. Now, do you have to weigh the stand down? No, because you have your cinder blocks. What you need to do is ratchet strap down your hive, and that's our goal, is keeping them in one spot. So if you don't have the first 2 hive stands, maybe you have a platform that you put them on, and you just line them all the way down your platform. It's the same concept. You want your beehives to stay in place. So what we're going to do is ratchet strap from the front to the back, directly over the hive, and that should hold it in place for the hurricane. Okay, we have our warrior hive set up for a hurricane right now. We have the ratchet strap going through the top of the hive versus over the top. Through just helps give it a more secure, stable feeling. You can go over the top, but then it has these, the gable roof has these wings that come out, if you want to call them that, versus keeping the ratchet strap nice and flush. It's going to flail out. It is attached to the bottom of the stands here, so technically the stand can still fall over, but that's why we leave the cinder block here. That just ensures that it's weighed down enough. The hive boxes itself, these are both brood boxes. There's no honey super on this warrior. And then the next thing we want to talk about is the bottom board. You want to have this inserted. This bottom board being inserted allows the bees still to get oxygen, but keeps a majority of the wind out because now it's a sealed floor for them. The other thing we want to talk about is the environment around your beehives. Right now we have a blueberry bush here that can't do any damage to our hive boxes. However, in the back hedge we have some rather large older trees. If those trees fall, then we need to be concerned, are they going to hit our hives? Now these hives were placed pretty far away to where if those trees do fall, we're not going to have any issue. Okay, we have our cinder block hive stand set up for a hurricane, and what we're doing is we're taking a ratchet strap, we're putting it through the cinder blocks that make the hive stand and through the cinder block that's on top of the hive. That will make it very, very secure. You won't have any worries about your hive moving off of this hive stand or the hive stand moving at all. It's so heavy. The next thing we got to talk about is honey supers. Now our advice is if your honey super is empty, take it off. Okay, if it's full, I would leave it on. That keeps giving them a food source and it increases the weight of your hive to hold it in place. Now, why do we say take out the empty one? It's because surface area. If the wind is pushing against your hive, you want less surface area and more weight to hold down your hive. If you have an empty box on top, what you're doing is creating more surface area, but not adding any real weight. A full honey super could have 90 to 100 pounds in there, and that will really hold it in place. But an empty, you're losing all that weight, and you're adding Mother Nature another force to push against your hive. The other thing we want to talk about is flooding. Here in this apiary, flood level does not get very high. It may not even reach these 4x4s. However, in your area, in your apiary, you need to monitor it. If you know that comes up higher, come out a couple weeks prior and start adding cinder blocks. That way you just raise this guy up to the proper height so that when that hurricane does come through, you're not having any issues. The last thing I want to talk about, and you may notice behind me, there's no wind block. Typically what you want to do is put a fence line behind your hives or bushes, brush, hedge, a building works really well, but something to block the winds from hitting your hives is really going to help when a hurricane comes blowing through. They'll still get hit by winds, but because you have a building or a hedge or whatever in the way, the amount of force that's going to be put against these hives is going to be decreased, extremely decreased. So take care of your girls. Okay, we got our ratchet strap in, and you'll notice that it's ratchet straight to the platform. It comes through a cinder block, and that just distributes the weight on top of the hive. Instead of having one point and then the top itself and trying to hold it down, we now have a cinder block that goes across the top, holds it down. The next thing you want to consider is wind. Now, if your hives are facing south, typically that hurricane wind is not going to hit your hive. However, your hives can be faced south, east, northwest, or there may be an entrance that you don't know about on your hive that your bees are using. So the first thing that we like to do is turn our entrance reducer to the smallest entrance. We don't block it off completely because these guys still breathe oxygen. We still want them to get enough air. If we block that off and there's basically the entirety of the inside of the hive is properly and the waterproof and windproof, then how is oxygen getting in? So we put it on the smallest entrance opening, and then you'll notice we have some blue painters tape here. That's it. I did an inspection last week or the week prior just to make sure they're still doing okay. They're going to make it through the hurricane. And it dawns on me, I'm now cracked Acropolis, and I need to help them reseal it. So I just put painters tape on there. In the meantime, if they're able to propalize the whole thing in a week or two, good on them. But this is just a safety precaution. The next thing you want to look at is the tilt of the hive. 3 to 5 degrees is recommended, having it tilting forward. That way, if water hits the landing board, it rolls off. And it rolls off forward, not into the hive. Also, look at your water table in your area and the amount of rain that you're going to get. Because if you start getting flooding and this platform's not high enough, your water's going to come in regardless of the tilt of your hive. Okay. So what you need to do is just keep that in mind as the hurricane's coming. Make sure it's high enough off the ground. And what you can do is if you know it's coming in weeks prior, come out, lift up your hive, put a block of wood under it. Every couple of days, just put a block of wood. They're going to start getting used to that. Their entrance is moving up. And then when you ratchet strap it down, it'll be fine. And that does it for our hurricane video. We've gone over ratchet straps, flooding, wind breaks. I mean, we'll put a checklist in the description of things that will keep you thinking about your apiary and how to prepare for a hurricane. If you like what you saw, leave us a comment, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and stay tuned for our video next week. Thanks. Oh, I'm old.